Hello boys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. My name is Raunchy Ram, and I'm bringing you guys the other part of that Nioh tips and tricks video that I said I had. If you haven't seen the last one, go ahead and click the annotation on the screen right now. Otherwise, keep watching. The first video was more about the basic stuff, or stuff that I thought was, stuff that... beginner stuff. This has got a little bit more advanced stuff in it, like proper usage of block and living weapons. Anyway, I hope you guys find this helpful. Thank you for watching. Tip number 1 is blocking. In Nioh, the enemies are very aggressive, and sometimes you'll find enemies that you can't stagger lock by meleeing them from high stances. One of these examples would be the samurai you're seeing on screen right now. He's always in a high stance, and even when I was using a high stance with heavier weapons, I still wasn't able to stagger lock him. So to handle these enemies, you need to block and wait for an opening, or block and wait for them to expend their stamina, and then when their stamina is expended, you can knock them to the ground and repeatedly whoop on them until they die. So don't worry about blocking. I know none of these weapons are actually shields, and you probably can't get any shields in Nioh because I don't think samurai ever used a shield. So I want to rely on finding a shield in this game. So you use your weapons to block, and I'm pretty sure all weapons are 100% block. I don't think my damage has ever gone down while blocking. So make sure you block against the enemies in high stances. You can tell they're in a high stance usually because they'll hold their weapons above their heads. Tip number 2 is controlling your enemies. Because of how dangerous the enemies can be, it's hard enough to fight one alone, but should you fight 2 or 3, it's going to be even harder. Your weapons may be able to hit multiple enemies at one time, but you still probably can't take on more than one samurai at a time. So, to control your enemies, you want to either throw a stone at them, or you want to go to your ninjutsu tree, here up on the screen, and pick up shuriken. I recommend just using shuriken because shurikens restore at shrines. So you've got an unlimited supply of shuriken, and then you want to just throw it at an enemy, and it'll make that enemy separate from the group. You only very occasionally get an enemy that comes where multiple enemies next to each other come after you when you throw a shuriken at one of them. So if you can, use your shurikens to separate them from the group and make them easier to take out. Tip number 3 is elixirs. In Nioh you get elixirs which are similar to your Estus flasks. You start with 3 that are returned to you whenever you use a shrine. But whenever you do something like kill an enemy and they drop elixirs, or you sacrifice items to the shrine as an offering, you'll be given bonus elixirs. If you use these elixirs, they don't come back, even if you rest at a shrine. While this can suck, it can be used to your advantage too, because that means you can stockpile elixirs for boss fights. Tip number 4 is living weapons. Now we're getting to the fun stuff. Each of the guardians that you get in the demo have different passive effects when equipped, but they also have different living weapon effects when you equip them. To get living weapon, when the circle at the top left of the screen is pulsating, press triangle and circle together. This will summon your guardian spirit to inhabit your blade so that you can do a variety of different buffs. This is particularly useful if you're having trouble with a specific enemy. So, like that samurai I showed you earlier, you could totally just use your living weapon to kill him. Now, the circle at the top left shows a timer after using your living weapon. You can refill that by killing enemies or just wait the timer out. After that, you'll be able to refill your living weapon's meter, your spirit gauge, by killing more enemies. If you don't actually see anything in that circle at all, that means you've died recently and you can't use your living weapon because your guardian spirit is busy protecting your Amrita, or your XP. Every guardian has a different spirit weapon effect. Like Kato, it increases your damage Daibawashi causes wind damage, and Raiken causes lightning damage. Tip number 5 is increasing your Amrita. Your Amrita is your souls in this game. It's your XP. To increase your Amrita gain, you can equip equipment that increases your Amrita earned. It raises it based on a percentage. So having multiple pieces of equipment stacks. You can either use equipment that has higher Amrita gains, or you can equip the Guardian Spirit in the demo, Raiken. Raiken also has a pretty good sword buff, but you want that Amrita gain. So I don't have any farming tips for you guys or any like leveling spots, but this should at least make it a little bit easier while you're trying to beat the demo. Well, that's it for the tips in this video. Thank you guys for watching, and subscribe if you want to. I mean, you do you, boo.